all things that we've had to be able to train teachers on, things that they didn't know, and some still don't know, and when this is still a work in progress. More information says children can be provided with broader but meaningful early mathematical experiences to set a strong foundation early in life. This is that statistic I was mentioning earlier. If you consider it as an essential part of the child's daily lives and incorporate it into their learning experiences, it is particularly effective for fostering their mathematical thinking. And if teachers are able to identify those students with Tier 2 interventions through the use of those universal screeners, thankfully we now have a universal screener, they can monitor that growth and determine the impact and be more data-driven. Then we have our students' success in mathematics depends upon attitude towards mathematics. This is an area that is really struck close to home for me. It influences the learner's participation rate. So as our teacher morale was down last year, they were discouraged by those math scores. Guess what their lessons became? Very boring. I can promise you, I observed them. It was not fun. The face they made, even on camera, they looked so tired and just so drained. And it was because they were discouraged. They felt like the students weren't listening or they didn't care. They felt a disconnect. So we really wanted to strengthen that with phone calls, that interaction, those relationships, and also getting the teachers excited about the learning process again. We had to reignite in them what they do this for. Why did you go to school for this? Remember what you love about it. And the more they interacted with their students and families, the more excited they got about the learning process all over again. I think it took some of them to realize you can have a virtual connection that can actually even be stronger than that brick and mortar connection. Because in brick and mortar, there were some students that I never met their dads or their mom, depending on who they lived with. In brick and mortar, you are virtually, in virtual world, you're virtually in their homes with them. You see mom and dad at the back of the camera all day long. So you get to speak with them. You see their pets. You get to know those families much more intimately if you take the time and you really invest in that time and use it well. So here was our steps to success. I've mentioned them as we talked. Our goals here were to promote student growth and development. We want to see a 10% increase in math scores over the course of the school year. The tests will be given at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and we will also have interims that are going to be like October. I think we're going to have another one in March. So that will cover different times throughout the whole school year. And here's the really cool part that's exciting. Students will have cameras and microphones on to ensure the questions are answered independently by those students. We want to enhance curricular design, implementation, and refinement. So teachers will meet weekly to use that double loop reflection strategy for previously taught lessons. Use the provided collaboration note-taking outline to record discussions and plans, and use that supervision instrument I made to create new student-led lessons. Administration will come into meetings to answer questions and provide guidance, and each grade level will keep a copy of their weekly collaboration notes in a Google Drive shared with the administration team. That's the plan. Community relations. Teachers will make those enduring calls to every parent student at least once a month and record the conversation as a note using our Enduring Connection Call template. We will use our school's data tracker to keep up with the phone calls, and that report will be pulled twice a week and saved on our school's SharePoint. Teachers and administration will have access to these reports. All reports are password protected to ensure students' information is secure and private. That's our steps to success. That's what we're going to do. Here's that schedule for success. This is our timeline of how we're going to make this happen. Okay, we started the plan in the summer. We started immediately beginning of the school year with professional development. we dove into how we want teachers to spend their time in that professional learning community, their PLC. We taught them about what form they're going to fill out during PLC. It's going to be data driven. They're going to use these interims and these different tests to go over with their teammates very specifically what their students need and to make a plan for the following weeks, and even share lesson ideas and strategies and different things to make sure that we're all on the same track and with the same team thought, and to boost that morale. That's how we're going to do that. We're going to monitor that growth. We're going to keep providing PD. We have another one coming up in November. So we've had so far our beginning of year PD in August. We just had a virtual PD this last week that was from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. online in the Zoom room so we can see each other face to face. Now we'll have a face-to-face professional development in November where we'll all come together to see each other. Then we will have another virtual PD around February. Then we will have one more in-person get-together by the end of the year in April. That will be our end-of-year, kind of like a school bash where we have our celebration. It's really fun. The students get together. We call it our expo. They get together. They have science fair. They have, what else? We have our Beta Club. Well, Honor Society inductions. It's not called Beta Club. We have a book fair. We have a talent show. We have spelling bees. All of this in one huge day of events in Montgomery. So that's how we end our year with a bang. So lots of opportunity for professional development. That is our timeline for the whole school year. But in order to make those changes, we needed a weekly schedule of protected time for our parents, not our parents, our teachers to plan for that success. So here was my plan. Mondays, I want the teachers to have a whole hour blocked off just to plan, look at data and plan. I want Tuesdays saved for professional development. Wednesdays, every other week, we would have our faculty meeting, and then the week that we weren't having a meeting, they would use for planning. Thursday, every Thursday, grade level collaborative meetings to where they're getting together as a whole grade band, having that data driven conversation. This is how my students scored. This is what we're going to work on. This is the standards we're pulling to make sure that we're digging in. This is how we're going to differentiate. This is how we're going to make this better. Then on Fridays, I want them planning also. That was my plan. Now, here's the changes that had to happen in that plan. Unfortunately, I did not receive the administration title at my school that I interviewed for over the summer. So the new administrator and I have many of the same leadership beliefs and goals, thankfully, but she has chosen to do her professional development differently. She's also decided to use a different resource for lesson planning and for tracking our professional learning community notes. That means that the Teach Like a Champion techniques that I had planned to train the teachers on, they are no longer getting. They were going to be used to highlight those all year long and be presented to the teachers. But thankfully, we do still have a PLC time that is being used intentionally to discuss student data and plan like I had hoped for. So we don't have the professional development like I wanted. And we do not have the same system I had in place to make it a successful school year. But we do still have that protected PLC time that is intentional and is very different than last year. And we also do have the changes to make the data that we're getting reliable. So those are two positives. Then we have the new administrator has also allowed teachers to plan during their 11, 12 o'clock sessions. So I'm going to go back to the slide to show you. She's allowed teachers to come in on Mondays and Tuesdays and make those class times to where they're actually teaching students during that time. Wednesdays are faculty meetings. Thursdays are grade level PLC meetings. And then Fridays, some of them are also teaching. So that has really affected the time they had to plan. it's really cut that down drastically, and the teachers are already complaining about it. And honestly, unfortunately, the morale is not where it should be. It is very low. We actually have had over 5 ladies quit this school year, and we've had to retrain new ladies that have never taught virtually. So that has been a new challenge for us as we try to train these ladies correctly while also covering their classes, because it wasn't until those veteran teachers saw their workload after they made those schedules and those teaching times and realized they didn't have time to plan that they decided to give up and move on. So that has created its own set of problems that we were not anticipating. Here is the post-project data that we have presented with us so far. We are still waiting on the results of these beginning of year assessments, but we do know this is the amount of students that have completed the test. We're just waiting on all the results to come in. And thankfully, we are already planning to use the same assessment for our interims in October. So we know it's going to be reliable data, and we have been able to successfully watch every student take their test with their camera on and microphone on. So we are confident that that information is going to be good information. Now, our goal is to see 95% growth in these, 95% completion in all these grade levels. But you'll see in yellow, that's the grades that were not able to finish with 95% completed. So we did miss that mark a little bit. We wanted all those cameras on, those microphones were on, so we could monitor them, and we did do that. We did that well. Our goal was to have at least 95% of them reach that, and I just showed you it was not that way. Here is the impact on student achievement. Teachers are already using their weekly call data report to make sure they're reaching out to each student once a month. We are seeing relationships blooming with this goal for those teachers that are accurately making those calls. We already see the bonds being formed between the parents and the students and teachers. We are confident in the data we are waiting on, since we have physically monitored those students, and it's the same assessment. And then teachers are relieved that we are scheduling those October interims with the same tests we used, and that has helped them have a confidence in our data reporting. There is, like I mentioned before, a whole different level of teacher morale issues with being overworked, and of course with a new assessment means understanding the new reports. So we've had a lot of disgruntled, I believe would be the word, discontent in learning all these new things at the beginning of the school year, while they do have their regular task and they've overbooked themselves without having that planning time. So next steps, they are still complaining about being overworked because they didn't set aside the planning time. They feel cramped and rushed to make their lessons because they are teaching 30-minute increments back to back without taking those breaks to plan. Unfortunately, this is not something I can fix, since I'm not in charge, and the principal is the one that told them to do that and approve their schedules. As a principal, I will try to remember all of these things that I'm seeing so that I can do them differently. I would plan on using the same schedules I showed previously and keeping time blocked off for those teachers to have a planning time during their day. They were all much happier when they had that, and I think that's going to reflect in their teaching to their students and just the learning in general. And that is it. I've also shared in this information that I'm giving you, I'm going to have uploaded my data analysis, literature review matrix, and my action plan. I hope you've enjoyed. Here are the references that I used just for this presentation. There were some more references I had placed in my action plan, but since we did not use Teach Like a Champion in the end, I did not put that in here, and there were a few more that I kept out as some of the information changed as the school year developed. Thank you. Bye-bye.